Hey everyone, today we're diving into a Welsh derby that felt more like a chess match than a fireworks show, Wrexham 0, Swansea 0 at Stok Cae Ras. But I'm not here to give you a boring recap, I'm here to pull apart the patterns, the tensions, and what this result signals about both clubs' trajectories. I'll start with the big picture. This clash sits at the intersection of ambition and reality. Wrexham sits 6th, 5 points clear of Swansea in 11th, which instantly frames this as a micro-battle for playoff sanity rather than pure bragging rights. Personally, I think that gap hovering around a checkpoint like 5 points creates a pressure cooker where every stumble feels magnified. What makes this really interesting is how both teams approach the same game with different narratives, Wrexham chasing consistency after that Chelsea high and Swansea trying to reset after a demanding midweek schedule. In my opinion, this fixture becomes less about the result and more about the tone it sets for the rest of the month. First idea, the tactical blueprint from Swansea and its echo in Wrexham's approach. Swansea showed early signs of their usual high-pressing identity, with Ronald threatening down the right and Goncalo Franco looking to turn half-chances into something tangible. From my perspective, this isn't just about one cross or one shot, it's about how Swansea intends to press and recover in transitions, trying to pin Wrexham into making rushed play. What many people don't realize is that a 0-0 scoreline can still reveal a lot about a team's control of tempo and space. If you take a step back and think about it, Swansea's willingness to press high signals they're aiming to control the game's rhythm rather than cede footing and invite a counter. This raises a deeper question. Is Swansea's pressing a sign of confidence or a sign of fatigue from a taxing 3-game week? Second idea, Wrexham's shape and how they responded to pressure. Early shaky moments settled into a more compact footing, with Zach Viner pushing forward and Issa Kabor delivering crosses that Swansea cleared. What this tells me is that Wrexham are leaning on a responsive, adaptable structure rather than a fixed plan. Personally, I think the real story is how Arthur Okonkwo handled the moments when Swansea did get into threatening positions. His season has been a beacon of reliability, and beyond the save, it's about how a goalkeeper's calm presence changes the team's confidence. From my view, the draw is a micro-win for Wrexham's defense, not perfect, but missing pieces aren't fatal when you're grinding out results in a crowded playoff race. One thing that immediately stands out is the balance they're trying to strike, keep clean sheets, but also contribute in possession without getting reckless. Third idea, the undercurrent drama beyond the pitch, the ownership presence and the fan energy. The attendance of Wrexham co-owners Reynolds and Rob McElhenney adds a layer of mythos to the match, turning it into a cultural moment as much as a sporting one. What this really suggests is how ownership narratives bleed into performance narratives. The players feel like they're playing not just for 3 points, but for a story that the world is watching. From my perspective, that can be a double-edged sword. It raises expectations, but it also fuels a sense of belonging and pressure at the same time. A detail I find fascinating is how the owner's presence is leveraged by the club to amplify a us versus the world mentality, which might influence how players approach the game emotionally, if not tactically. If you're measuring impact, the true effect may be less about goals and more about morale and belief. Deeper insight, the Welsh derby as a lens on the championship's broader dynamics. This match sits in a broader trend where mid-table teams in competitive leagues balance ambition with sustainability. Wrexham's 5-point cushion versus Swansea's push for a playoff tilt reflects how small margins in table positioning translate into strategic choices, rotation, rest, and resource allocation across a congested schedule. What this really suggests is that the league's depth is forcing smarter squad management, using wingers like Ronald to stretch play, while banked performances from a steady backline and a reliable keeper. In my opinion, this game underscored a growing pattern. Teams at this level win leagues not just through star players, but through a cohesive collective identity and disciplined game management. The result also invites a broader conversation about Welsh football's identity on the UK stage, two clubs with intertwined futures showing that domestic pride can coexist with professional ambition. Closing thought, what's next for both clubs? For Wrexham, this result is a nudge toward tightening control and not letting fatigue derail late-game concentration. For Swansea, it's a reminder that form and timing matter as they chase a tighter gap to the top. Personally, I think the season will hinge on how each club preserves momentum and navigates injuries while maintaining belief in their core principles. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a comment with your take on which club's approach you think is sustainable for a long campaign, and tell me what tactical tweak you'd want to see next. What this really asks us is, in a league defined by grind, where does identity win you games, and where does it win you confidence for the run-in?